I've already played Doki Doki as a sub incentive, actually. I played it last year, right? Like, if there's an overwhelming call to play a certain game, like there was for Doki Doki, you know, I'll make it an incentive if I don't really think I want to play it, but everybody really wants to see it. Like, I'll make it a sub goal or something like that. I wanted to make a sub goal for last year's Fiesta, but there just really wasn't anything that came up that I felt like was something I'd really want to play. That's not necessarily true, Kamen Rider. I reserve the right to refuse to put anything on the list. But I will say that if somebody sends me a game, I try to at least play it. But if like someone sends me a bad game as a joke, I'm not gonna put it on the list, you know, just cause. Yeah, it's review time, by the way, guys. Review time. There we go. Yeah. I made like a joke sub goal, and you guys destroyed it in like a day. It was disgusting. That was the year sub gifts came out, so I think it was actually 2 years ago. All right, so you can see our review of Dragon Warrior 2. We finished that yesterday, and we finished this today. Pretty crazy. I did say that there was a high chance of me finishing these games. How much do I have to donate to get Infinite Undiscovery on the game list? I've heard it's terrible, so I don't know. Here's our like viewer variety night games that viewer choice games rather that we played over time. So we rated the same way. Breath of Fire 3 is our current game. The rating system that we do is very logical and it makes sense. And if you don't understand this, then you got something wrong with your brain, because this is the most logical way to rate games, because you are collecting data. You aren't saying, you know, I like main character Chan, so 10 out of 10. You know, this isn't IGN where you get paid off to make a good review, etc., etc., etc. Let's do that. Turn this down. All right. $382,212.38. Yeah, sure, fine. I'll put it on the list at that price. But yeah, when you're collecting data and comparing things up to one another, the only thing that makes sense is 5 being average, because like you're collecting a data. If like we're collecting a pool of tallest to shortest people, the person that's perfectly in the middle would be like the 5th person essentially, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? The tallest person would be way up here. Not a lot, you know, like not a lot of there, not a lot there. Lots of people usually fall in the average height, right? That's what average is, you know, average. It's the mean value. It's taking all of the things and dividing them by the number of things. So 5 is an average game. When I say, oh, the visuals are pretty average, that's a 5, which isn't a bad thing. It's just average. It's nothing special. It doesn't really stand out. Doesn't really do anything special. It doesn't like blow you away with animations or quality, you know, graphical integrity or anything. It's just average, okay? When we're talking about visuals, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? We're talking about cutscenes. And I'm not just saying like how many anime cutscenes were in Persona 4. I'm talking about when we had like characters standing around talking, there wasn't really a lot going on. There wasn't a lot of animation to the characters. There wasn't a lot of like, most of the time when action happened in a cutscene, they just cut to black and then they cut back in and then the thing had changed. That's a flaw. That's not really giving you a very good cutscene, and that's a hit on visuals. Graphical fidelity is a part of this. Color choice, aesthetic is definitely a part of this. Just combat animations, spell animations, all that stuff coming together to create your overall visuals, right? Audio, same difference, like audio imbalance, voice acting quality, balance, sound effects, you know, lack of audio track variety, for instance, is one thing. You know, all the things have to do with your ears, not just I liked this track 10 out of 10. That's not how you rate things. It's an overall score, all the things coming together, okay? All right, gameplay. This can be a lot of different stuff as well. Gameplay can be more than just the combat. It could be how you move around the map. It could be how the social links work. Anything that has to do with choices that you make to experience the game. Or movement you make on the world map, or places you can visit, or how it's portrayed to the player. Story, same deal. This could be side questing to main quest, to how it's written, to everything in between. Everything that has to do with the actual story and how it's written. Craftsmanship is kind of an all-around score, but really what we're rating here is like, how well is the game put together? Is it glitchy and buggy? Can you like sequence break, or you know, do a lot of these parts not matter? For instance, having to do the random choices to actually get the true ending, air quotes, that's a craftsmanship thing. That's a, you know what I mean? Enjoyment. These scores are all objective. I try to take my personal bias out of it and think, how much would people actually like this on average? Not you, not your best friend who also loves it. On average, how are fans of RPGs going to like Persona 4? Okay? But this is my personal score, how much I enjoyed it. Alright? Okay, let's get to it. Remember, 5 is average. Right? 5 is average. Okay. Persona 4 finished. What's the US release date of this, by the way? If someone could look that up for me really quick, we'll move on to visuals. Oh, wow. VG is already on it. Dang. Thank you, man. 2008. Okay. All right, visuals. All right, so first, right off the bat, there's nothing special here in the visuals department. It looks pretty standard. In fact, it's pretty much Persona 3, just with different characters. Visually, so there wasn't really anything striking or extraordinary from the game. And overall, the actual graphical fidelity of the game was pretty minimal. I'd say one of the things that really bothered me about the game is there was only like 2 places to explore. There was the shopping district and the water area, the canal or whatever. So it was kind of not a whole lot going on there. But I will say the shopping district looked nice. One thing I was really hoping for was that the shops would open up over time and give you more access to more stuff, like in other... I don't want to say too much, but yeah. Yeah, I know, right, Rachel? It does get a little repetitive. But anyway, the shopping district looked nice. You know, there was like an uphill road and everything. It was kind of neat and curvy, and it had a little bit of detail on the side of the road and stuff. But there really wasn't a whole lot. The other thing that really bugged me about the game visually was that the dungeon design was incredibly lame. It was super boring. Every dungeon was the exact same procedurally generated, like, coding, just with the different tile sets. That's it. That's the dungeon. You just create a tile set, randomly procedural generation, you know? And that's boring, you know? Like, it's not a dungeon crawler, for one. And for two, like, actually design your dungeon. Make it feel like a place that, you know? And, not only that, but, like, it was just floating platforms, you know? Or, like, random hallways. Like, like, you go to a sauna, but it didn't feel like a sauna. Just because you put, like, sauna walls on there and a sauna floor, it doesn't make it feel like a sauna. It should have felt like a sauna, and it didn't. And I understand it's like the dark world or whatever, and it's gonna be mysterious and stuff. That's not a reason to be lazy on the design. They were trying to make a thing, and they didn't. They just made a generic tile set and then put it on a generator, and then that's your dungeon. And if you leave and come back, yeah, you get a different procedurally generated dungeon, you know? That's just not a dungeon. That's just hallways. That's like it's not immersing you in a world. It's not bringing you into something. It's not even effort. It's super lazy. It's really lazy. And that is a big hit to me. It's just too grand. I need something more chill. And it just was too blah. It didn't feel like any dungeon. The only reason I wanted to get into a dungeon at any point was because I just had 4 hours of story and I was ready to do something else, you know? So like, immerse your player into an awesome looking dungeon, not just, you know, random tile set and then make hallway and then done. You know, that's the reason Final Fantasy 13 gets so much hate. Nobody ever says this kind of stuff about another game. Everybody calls Final Fantasy 13 Hallway Simulator, but like all the other like lower budget games or side games or like niche titles never get the same flack that FF13 did. And Final Fantasy 13's like generic hallways, air quote, were still infinitely better than every other game that does the exact same thing. At least there was actual like texturing and some unique aspects to it, and it was pre-made, not generated every time you go in. So if you're going to hate on FF13 for quote being a hallway simulator, hello? You know? Hello? I don't care if it's linear. Linearity has nothing to do with a game being good or bad. What matters is the actual design of it, the ground clutter, the little things on the side, making it feel like it's a place you could actually see in reality. The actual town shopping area was great. Lots of little signs and stands and people and, you know, street signs and cracks in the sidewalk and whatever. It was awesome. Like little bushes and weeds coming up. It was really, really good. That was good. That's the only place in the entire game that was good. Literally the only place, aside from like the street that you live on. That's it. There was nothing else, you know? Yuri Rain, thank you for 17 months in resub. Thank you very much for the continued support. I appreciate that. And that matters. Otherwise, in combat, now what I really like about this game visually is the aesthetic. There was a lot of really like metaphorical creatures in the game, you know, like well, I think it was Yukiko's shadow that had like, you know, people holding her up on her throne. It was very empowering, like for feminine figure kind of thing, and it was very metaphorical. It expressed so much more in its design than it even needed to say in words. It could have said nothing, and that image was very, very obvious what it was portraying, at least to me anyway. And some people can't really pick up on art stuff, but anyway, the point is that metaphorical presence that all the creatures in the game had. Some of them were just kind of generic based off of legend lore or whatever, but some were really cool, especially the shadows. And they were all like that. All the boss shadows had a strong meaning to their design. See my reaction to Ni no Kuni for realistic world design? Yeah, Ni no Kuni was really pretty. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this game's creature design. But again, that was really the only part of the visuals that really stood out. Other than that, spell effects were kind of meh. There wasn't really a whole lot of interesting attack animations. Summoning your persona was kind of cool, but they just kind of did the same animation every time. All in all, the visuals were actually less impressive than anything. Like, I want to say overall, for a lot of games that you see, especially of this caliber and of this era, I'd probably say the visuals are pretty average overall, but I'm actually going to dock it a point for the poor dungeon design. That really gets to me. And I think it's something that really needs to be punished, because way too many game developers, especially RPG game developers, have that lazy dungeon design of just creating an eighth of a tile and multiplying it to create a whole tile and then just repeating the tile over and over and over again, and that's your dungeon. And it's like, no, stop that shit. Give me something that really draws me in. And I have to say, and I hate comparing to Final Fantasy because it's kind of hard to compare against Final Fantasy, every single Final Fantasy except for 13, obviously, for we just talked about, has this world design that draws you in, that's full and vibrant and detailed, and just has this real feel to it, like it's a place that could exist in the world that you're at, not just you go into a cave, now you get cave tile repeated until you get to the boss and beat it, you know, the generic. I don't like it, so I'm gonna give it a 4 on visuals. All right. Audio. Will I start a new game today? Not sure. It depends on how long the review takes. We only have a few hours left, so we'll see. Audio. Okay. The OST of this game is wonderful. It is really damn good. Every track that you get is a jam. Like, every track you get is a jam. Every dungeon has its own unique music. Big ups on that. Big ups on that. The town music, you get 2 or 3 different town musics that are really good. Big ups on that. And the boss music and the battle music are also really, really, really good. Couple hits, though. There are a couple hits on this. First off, the sound design, like sound effects and stuff, pretty good. Mostly the menu sounds are good, but some of the combat sounds can be a bit jarring. Some are really loud, like ice. Voice acting is very good, especially for this kind of game. I was actually really impressed. Of course, you had people like Troy Baker and, gosh, I just forgot her name. The one that does Resay. Wow. Laura Bailey. And a lot of other really good talent in this game. And so the voice acting, of course, is going to be pretty good, especially around the late PS2 era, is when these voice actors really started to kick it up, because you'll see Laura Bailey and Troy Baker and freaking Coffee Dad, what's his name? Coffee Dad and a couple others, like all over PS2 games when voice acting started to get big in video games, like all over the place. And so they had a lot of experience prior to late PS2 era. And so they really, really, really started to pick it up in the late PS2 era and started to really come into their own as voice talent. And so the late PS2 era, super good. And of course, because this is kind of a lighthearted shonen anime style, the voice direction is basically Saturday morning cartoons, and they nailed it. Of course, with a little bit of a little bit step up from Saturday morning cartoons, because this is an MA game. There's still a little bit more going on here than just, golly gee, let's defeat the bad guy. You know, there's some adult stuff-ish, not really, kind of tame, more like puppy love and holding hands, but still, it's there. But another big hit to the audio score is there's not a lot of variety in the OST, and there's a lot of periods in the game where you're getting nothing, and it's like long, awkward periods. Like you're in town trying to do all your stuff, and it's just silence, and you're just like, if it rains, you get no music. It's make a track for the rain. Come on, you can do that. Like there's so many jams. Just make one more track for the rain, and it would have been a million times better. But anytime it rains, you get no music, and I can't. Although I will say, PS2 is kind of this time where like silence for effect was kind of big, and they kind of went ham on it in some games, especially like Xenosaga. Ugh, God. Xenosaga OST has like 80 tracks, but like 90% of the time there's just silence, and there's only one battle theme the entire game. Really disappointing. So while the OST, when you get it, is really good, it is a bit repetitive at sometimes, and there's not a whole lot of variety. Of all the Persona games, this one actually has the smallest OST, I believe, if you don't count. Actually, I just want to say of Persona 3, 4, and 5, this one has the smallest OST, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Not a huge issue, but, you know, for as long as the game is, hearing the one track for, you know, doing the thing in school, the one track for when something mysterious is happening, the one track for this, you know. Kitty, please. 5 minutes? Really? Can't just give me 5 minutes? Fine. The game did have Come Here Tiger, which spoilers. But anyway, otherwise, I mean, these are things that are not like really hurting the score too bad. And because the jams are so good, when you get them, it's still an 8 out of 10 OST for audio, or 8 out of 10 for audio. Or yeah, cicadas or something like that, yeah. 58 tracks. Oh, Persona 3's is 58. Persona 4's is 52. Yeah. P5, that OST is basically all the good things of Persona 4 without much of the bad stuff. Gameplay. Yeah, 110 tracks, dang. Gameplay, now this is kind of where it's going to actually take a bigger hit. The reason is because I love the battle system in Persona games. I really do. I love how there's a weakness to everything. Well, a lot of things anyway. And it matters. The weakness matters. It really does. And I like taking advantage of that weakness and getting the all-out attacks and like, you know, the instant deaths actually like have value as well. Buffs and debuffs have value. Everything is really good except for hit chance needs to get canned. Holy shit, man. That I can't tell you like how many times I game over because of missing, lost significant resources because of missing, or just, you know, died. Like it just, like it's frustrating to cast a spell and then, you know, it just misses. It just like 80% of the time, miss. You know, you're on the final boss and like 3 of your attacks out of 4 miss and you get like 1 attack every 5 turns and it matters so much. It's just frustrating. Also, the difficulty spike in some areas was absurd. Main character dying in combat as a game over is the shittiest mechanic you can ever put into your game, or one of the shittiest mechanics you can ever put in. I don't give a crap if it makes sense in the story because you're the main character. Shut up. It's a game. It needs to be fun. Okay? If that mechanic was never in the game, you wouldn't be so defensive about it. And I've seen some people defensive about that mechanic, you know? Like, no, no, you're wrong. You're just wrong. Fire Emblem isn't the same game. Fire Emblem is a tactics game. It's going to give you objectives each map. And having somebody die because you need to protect them or something along those lines, that makes sense, especially considering the game is based around permadeath. That you sign up for that. That's a tactics game. It's totally different. You can't compare. It's apples and oranges. In a standard turn-based RPG, without some kind of significant power or defensive mechanism for your main character, having them die, being a game over, is just bad. It's just bad. Period. Especially when you got resing spells and resing items. There is no resing spells and resing items in Fire Emblem. So, that being said, I really would like to give gameplay ups. Like, if it wasn't for the negatives, I'd probably say gameplay is about a 7. But I'm going to tear it down to a 5 because of those. Because the weakness mechanic and the meaning of buffs, debuffs, and weaknesses having significant value, the cool all-out attacks and everything. As far as the non-battle part of the gameplay, it's okay. You know, like, it doesn't really affect the score any, because you go to school, you do get the cool things. Yeah, you know, you miss out on permanent knowledge upgrades because, like, you don't know some random bullshit answer science thing that nobody's gonna know. But it doesn't really matter in the end. Your knowledge scores, your affinities or whatever, your social links, they don't really matter. You're gonna get a bunch of social links, you're gonna get a bunch of scores. You'll be fine if you don't have them all maxed. Like, it really doesn't matter. So that doesn't really affect the gameplay score. It would be kind of about the same otherwise, but I really enjoyed everything about the gameplay except for, and it's big, which is the difficulty scaling, randomly getting into a battle, not even getting a single turn and then game overing. Oh, and the surprise mechanic, that's another thing. If you walk into an enemy head on, you get the ambush against you. You get surprised. But if you hit him with the sword, then you get your advantage. And it's just like, no. If they hit my back, make it a surprise, head on normal, and if I hit him with the sword, then I ambush. You know, not any, don't, and the sword was so tiny, the models were so awkward. Sometimes I'd walk into an enemy and it'd be like 2 models away and it'd still engage me in combat. It's like, what the hell, you know? It was aggravating, very, very aggravating. But I loved everything else. If it wasn't for those things, and I'm pretty sure Persona 5 takes care of a big chunk of that. So now keep in mind also, they only had Persona 3 to work off of, so this is a huge improvement from Persona 3 still. No, but the thing about Persona 5 Ambush is you just need to press a button. Like, it's an automatic thing. Like, you get close enough and boom. So it's a much more intuitive system, much more well designed, way better. I had never had a problem getting first strikes in Persona 5 ever. Right, exactly. Yeah, it's a much more well designed system. But anyway, getting into a battle and getting a game over like instantaneously because enemies take advantage of weakness is also really doo-doo, and they have instant death attacks. Again, the only reason why that's a problem is because if main character dies, you die, it's a game over. No, no. Anyway, I wanted, again, gameplay is a 5 because I really loved some parts of it, but other parts really kind of brought it down. Actually, I should, hold on, made some of this frustrating. The game was not frustrating as a whole. Overall, the game was enjoyable. I had a good time, but there's definitely some frustration there, and I think that needs to be made known. Story. Now, this is where the game actually excels. The game has a fantastic story. It really does a good job of just making it feel like you're playing an anime season, you know? So there's a lot of down points, there's a lot of high points. There's not a lot of variety in the places that you go, to be honest. Like, it's at Junes talking or, you know, wherever. Like, Junes or school, or the dungeon. There's not a whole lot of, like, places you go to experience the story coming together. But, you know, the story takes place in your town. So it's kind of like, is that intentional? Do not have to worry about drawing too much or, you know, whatever. But the point is that it tells it very well. It makes you think that you're doing these things in such a capacity and then kind of like pulls the wool over your eyes and all of a sudden it's like different, but then it debates you and then does it again. And, you know, all these things that you think are what's going on, it's not the way it's actually going on. And it really, really does a good job of making you feel safe or in danger at any given time whenever it wants to make you feel like that. Debating you through the ending and a lot of other stuff like that. So, like, overall, the dialogue was really well pieced together. It's a very long game. So making sure, like, the story is cohesive all the way through that is hard to do. You have a lot of moving pieces and things going on all the time, and you have to go from start to finish over a long period of time with a lot of dialogue and a lot of character interaction and character growth, and have that be cohesive. One of the things that I really liked about the game was that when you build social links, it's because you cared. And so you didn't just get like some random NPC. It's like, you know, I need 4 boar livers, and then you deliver them, and then they give you their whole life story, and you just don't give a shit. Like, blah, 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 generic dialogue. I don't care. But when you're building up social links, it's like over a long period of time, so it actually feels like you're getting to know them over the course of the story. Yeah, it's side story, but it's side story that matters. They created an environment to where building those stories up and getting that backstory on characters felt good, and it felt important to you because you spent a lot of time investing in these characters, whether they be your party members or your schoolmates or whatever, and it mattered to you. Like, you know, weeks could go by and you never talk to I don't know, the sports kids or or something, and then you go out one day and it's like, oh yeah, the thing that happened last month, yeah. And you can kind of attach your own timeline to it based on when and how you tackled each side story, you know? And it just made it interesting. I wanted to learn about all the characters. I was sad that I didn't get to learn about I really wanted to do Naoto, and I kind of wanted to see Yosuke just because, but I really also wanted to see Kanji, and I never found him. You know, so there was a lot of stories that I never even touched, and I know that you're given a limited amount of time. Oh, the single mom, I wanted to see how that finished out too, because I really wanted to know what she'll end up doing with the kid, keeping it, putting it up for adoption, something like that. But yeah, there was a lot of really cool, interesting side stories yes, some of them were generic and some felt a little contrived, but overall, it didn't matter that much because you were interested in the characters that you were developing those relationships with due to how it was presented to the player over time. Yeah, exactly, Rageson, yeah. Some games, all they do is like go, here, side quest, boom, here's my backstory. I don't care. Shut up, give me the reward, go away. And it's just, I don't care. Like, one of the main reasons is because when somebody asks you to do a favor that you don't know who they are, they don't give you a backstory. They don't tell you everything about their life. They're just like, they're probably embarrassed about it, and they're looking for a favor, no questions asked, and that's why they asked a stranger, you know? So, like, it's just so forced and annoying, and I don't care. Nobody does. The reason I'm doing a favor for a stranger is because I don't care. I'm just looking for experience or a reward or something like that, whatever you're offering, you know? But otherwise, yeah, story was actually really good. I loved it. It was great. Hey. Yeah, great story. Excellent story. Really enjoyed it. Craftsmanship. This game, this actually has a lot to do with this story because, again, the story score, again, this game is long, right? It's a really, really long game, and that means they had to make it work over a long period of time. Like, imagine making a braid, okay? You're braiding someone's hair, and you need to keep the braid tight, right? All the way through the braid. And so you're holding on to the braid. At first, it's easy. You make the first braid, no big deal. But then you make the next braid while keeping the other braid tight. You got to pull down on it a little bit. And then you're making another one, and then you make it another one. Then your fingers start to get tired. Maybe the braid starts to loosen in areas, and you need to keep it tight and well woven the whole time. You can't let go. And the longer you go, the more tired you get, and the easier it is for another part of the braid to fall apart before you finish it. So when the braid is really, 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 really freaking long, it's hard to keep that in check. And that's what this game does. It does that. It keeps the long braid in check all the way from start to finish. Really, really well done. There's no gaps, there's no holes. In fact, I can't even think of a single plot gap. Everything seemed to be filled in rather nicely. And even your side stories don't really cause the game's story to break, except for there was one time where I had a level 10 social link with Yukiko, so she was like, already knew how to cook, and then I went to the camping trip and she screwed up cooking, and I think it's only because Chie is there that they justified having it the same way. It would have been nice if those social link stories had at least a small impact on just the dialogue or something in those main storylines. But again, it really doesn't. I think there are extra dialogue bits here and there, but it's like, it's just interjected, non-meaningful dialogue that's not part of the story. It's just like, I love you, senpai, as opposed to, see you later, senpai, kind of thing, you know? They did make that delicious cake at the end, but I feel like that was storyline, you know? But either way, the game's craftsmanship is well built. You cannot deny that this is a very long braid made from start to finish, and it's well done. It's well done. It's a well-crafted design game with a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces, and it works really well. No, that's not the point, Felly. That's not what I'm getting at. I don't care about whether or not they're forcing social links. It's about making your social links have value in the main story. That's what I'm getting at. It's about, like, when so if you build something up over a long period of time, it's good to feel rewarded over it. So if you build up this social link with this character and you get like extra little bits of dialogue or some kind of reaction, or the story changes ever so slightly, even though the main story and conclusion doesn't end differently, you still get something different. And that's meaningful to a player, because when you do that, you go, oh, she's talking like this because she's my girlfriend. Cool. And instead of it just being generic, you know what I mean? It's a reward, not taking away from someone. Hi, it's good, kitty. Finally you came by, huh? So rewarding players for what they do is a good thing, but taking away from them because they did something else is bad. And that would have been like a reward to the player if they had that. All right, enjoyment. This one's kind of hard because I really did have fun, but I had fun with the story. I had fun with the social link. Oh, by the way, one of the things that I forgot to mention about craftsmanship, at the end, to get the true ending, you gotta choose really, really random selections, and it was totally bogus. The choices you had all felt very samey, and if you didn't, you got the bad ending and had to go through a long dialogue all over again, and that definitely takes a hit off of it. I'm sure a lot of people played and got that and were just like, well, I guess that's the game. Okay, whatever, game over, and then just stop playing it, you know? So I'm tempted to bring it back down to a 7 because of that, but I think it still is fair to keep it at an 8 because, I mean, you should be saving. And also, if it didn't have it, it would more than likely just bring it up, if anything. All right, but yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the social links. I really enjoyed combat for the most part. There were just a few parts that really irked me. Like the scaling and random game overs. Today we game overed 4 times on the same floor because I got into a battle and died. Yeah, Snizaz, if you're looking for this review, on the bottom it says games list, finish with reviews, rating system, and then personal choice reviews. We're on personal choice reviews, not the finish with ratings. That's for viewer choice. Anyway, I want to say overall, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I definitely had an above average time with this game. And yeah, I think what Kim said is pretty much on the nose, which is a 7. Like, I enjoyed my time with the game, but there you go. There's our review. Persona 4, overall, a very good game. Not the best, not the most amazing, ridiculous RPG of all time. It's definitely, there's a reason why people love this game. Did I love it? I wouldn't say I loved it, but I very much enjoyed it, and I had a really good time with it. I would definitely recommend it to people, but I would say, hey, listen, this isn't really a JRPG. It's more of a visual novel with a JRPG side game. And the JRPG part of it can kind of be hit or miss. Like, if I had to rate this game as just a JRPG, man, there'd be like, if it was just the combat dungeon part of it, there would be everything would just go down. Like, everything would just go down. Everything. Any reason why I chose this instead of Golden? Well, I don't have a PS Vita, so, and even if I did have a PS Vita, you can't capture a PS Vita without significant cost, and also the game was gifted to me in PS2 form, and the gifter knew that I didn't have a PS Vita or the ability to capture PS Vita. But yeah, capturing PS Vita is hard. So, you know, I can't stream PS4, I can't stream Persona Golden. I can't stream Persona 4 Golden. There's no way that I can do that. Oh, and we don't do emulation. We play on original hardware here. I know PS TV, but I also don't have a PS TV. They're also expensive now, and I don't know what the capturing method is for that. I know it's just a console that plays PS Vita, but, like, I don't know what kind of outputs it has. I've never seen a PS TV in my life. I don't know what it looks like, whatever. And I don't have one, so again. But yeah, maybe sometime down the line I'll get it, but honestly, I prefer playing original releases anyway. I feel like I would prefer to play Persona 4 over Persona 4 Golden anyway, so to me, This was my preference anyway, just because I like to play the first release of a game because you get the real you get the real release. Everybody that bought this game, you know, bought it on PS2 and they played the PS2 version. So I think it's important to play that version first and to review it for that version first. If I love it, then I'll go with Golden. But obviously there are some games where I didn't do that with, like with Type 0, FF Type 0, I played the PS4 version, but I'm pretty sure that's just a remaster anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But still, I kind of prefer this. But yeah. Anyway, I think, I don't know, there's a lot of setup for me to go to PS4, and there's only a couple hours left, and I could really use the extra time to relax, so I think we're going to call it for the evening. Actually, hold on, I want to turn that capture off. There we go. I think we're gonna wrap it up for the evening. Our game 2 is now Yakuza Kiwami 2. I don't want to play an hour and a half of this and then have to wait a week before I can get it. I'll read the channel midnight, but you can tell me whatever you want at this point. It doesn't matter. But I'll read the spoiler channel. So if you're in the Discord, and I'll read all the things. But anyway, it's been a great day. It's been a great night. This week, honestly, Persona 4 was getting long, so ending it today was a good feeling. Finishing Dragon Warrior 2 last night was a good feeling. I'm sure there's like minor differences for the actual true ending or whatever. I don't really care. It's an ending. It's a good ending. Like most of the time, true ending just means like perfect scores and other bullshit, but whatever. We'll read the channel and we'll figure it out from there. Anyway, that being said, thank you very much for the support tonight. The bits, donations, subs, resubs, sub gifts. Thank you very much. You guys have been awesome. And I really appreciate you guys being here and for the conclusion of both of these games. Tomorrow is Breath of Fire 3, which is our viewer choice game. There's also a very good chance that we will finish that tomorrow or the next day. I'm thinking probably on Tuesday we'll finish it. So tomorrow we'll just be getting into it. That's 1 p.m. PST. I'll see you guys there. Thank you very much. Have a good night. And we'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. PST.